In today's video, it's about a TradingView tutorial specifically designed for beginners. TradingView is quite complex when you first get into it and maybe aren't very familiar with it yet. However, I want you to be at a point after this video where you say, okay, now I know my way around. I know where to find what. How do I use what? How can I save favorites from the drawings or other things so that I have quick access to them? How can I save multiple windows, yes, different assets? For example, if you analyze Bitcoin, if you analyze Ethereum so that you don't always have to switch, but instead have them stored with one click just as you saved them, and many other things. In this video, we will go through fewer indicators. I will make a separate video on this, where I will specifically cover the most important indicators that one might want to use on TradingView. If you don't have TradingView yet, then I have a link here in the video description. You see here it would look like this. If you were to choose a paid plan, you would get $15 back. But TradingView itself is completely free. You can use TradingView, you are a bit more limited, but otherwise you can really use it completely for free. Therefore, save your money in advance, get familiar with it, and if you decide to upgrade, you can still benefit from those $15. Signing up for TradingView is also super simple. Just provide your email address, choose a password, then you'll receive a code, confirm it briefly, and then you already have access to the TradingView backend and can use it easily. After you sign up, the website will look like this to you. That means this is the front website where you are in. If you scroll down here, there are community ideas. There are a few videos from other people, and there are also some recommended indicators. But we'll get to where you can find indicators later. Then at the top you have a few other options, like the current market, community. But the only thing that will really be interesting for you is the super chart. That's where we will find it now. It might be white for you. That means you can click up here and switch. Whether you want a light theme or a dark theme. And of course, you can also change the language. If you prefer German, then you simply select German and everything will be in German. I don't need to explain profile settings and similar things. I believe they are self-explanatory. Profile settings and similar things I think are self-explanatory. But if you want to open your first chart now, you simply go to Products, then to Super Chart. And when you are on Super Chart, your first window will appear. It won't look like this for you. I'll show you how it will look for you. I'm going to the test now, which I have prepared. I'll delete this here. And this is how your first chart will look. There will be something in it. It might be an S&P or some other asset. You can now for yourself at the top left here, where it currently says BTC USDT, go in and select what you want to trade for yourself. What do you want to analyze? At the beginning, under all, you have all sorts of things in there, but you can also choose stocks, funds, futures, forex, crypto. I will stay in crypto now. And I say I want to analyze Bitcoin, so BTC. And now there are several options. There is the BTC index, all-time history index. That's simply since Bitcoin has existed, what price movements it has made. Let's take a quick look at it. Because you see, you can go back to the month and it goes as far back. Since Bitcoin has existed since October 2009, it's included there. Everything has been updated there and everything about the moves Bitcoin has made is included. But if you say you are trading on an exchange and you are really interested in having the same chart on the exchange, depending on whether you have Bitcoin and US dollar or Bitcoin and US Tether, well, there is a difference because US Tether just is the normal trade when you trade US Tether. This means that when you enter US Tether, you will also see the different exchanges listed here. Bitget here, for example, recommendation. Bitget, you have a link in the video description. You can get up to $8,000 bonus and other ongoing campaigns that are included, which you will see when you click on it, what the ongoing campaign is. But now there is the option for spot trading here. If you say you just want to buy and sell and hold, then you have that option there. But if you say you want to do leverage trading, then it's very important that you enter a point and a P, because that is perpetual trading. And in that case, it's best to also choose your exchange that you have. If you don't have an exchange or your exchange is not represented, you can simply use Binance. That's where most of the volume is in almost every case. But in this case, I say now Bitget is my exchange that I use, and I click here. And now I have the Bitget exchange with the prices in it. The next thing I have the option to select different time frames here. I can now say I want to look at a 15-minute chart. That means each candle in it represents 15 minutes, which is shown to me an hour, 4 hours, the daily chart, and I can just see overall what has actually happened recently. Exactly in the next part. So we go through everything up here to the right first, and then we look at the drawings. So that you can find your way around, you can simply scroll the price up and down with the mouse. That means you see that the chart moves along with it. Or if you say you use the wheel on your mouse, you can scroll in and out here, right? If you scroll up, you move closer to the chart. And if you scroll back, the wheel on your mouse, then you also move back here. so that you understand that as well. One thing I still need to include, which I forgot earlier, what is important if you use this for trading is down here on the settings window where this little gear icon is. Here you click on it, and please make sure that you have the regular chart. The logarithmic chart or something else will be displayed differently. I will click on it now and you see it changes a bit, right? And for us, it is important when we trade, we want to have the regular chart, and it is important that you use this one. Exactly, in the next point there are different candles. I don't know if you might already be familiar with this. There is the possibility to trade with different candles. I will not go through all the candles now, that's too time consuming. These are the normal candles. Some also like to use the Heiken Ashi candles. They look a bit different. You can see that it's a bit cleaner in terms of trend, but one must not forget, Heiken Ashi does not have the real prices because except, and this is what I'm going to show you now. If you right click here at the top left and then go to settings, you have the symbol where you can click in. For you, it's turned off, and then you see now on the right they have two different prices. That means the Heiken Ashi calculated price is currently 91,142. However, the real price is actually 91,280. But if you click on it, everything changes immediately to the normal price. If you use Heiken Ashi, please use the normal price. Then you will also see the actual price where it's included. But Heiken Ashi can be confusing. But it can also be very helpful when you can see the trend more clearly, where it opens and closes again and has a counter trend. However, if you really want to have insight into the market, then it's more reasonable to trade with real candles where we can also see the wicks very clearly, how they go up and down. In the next part, we have the indicators here. Over time, you will add some of the indicators to your favorites. Then it will look like it does for me. Then you also have the technical indicators. These are provided by TradingView itself. This means I can, for example, select an RSI here. This is a very, very important indicator that provides a lot of information. Let's take a look at the indicators, the important ones, in another video. But now you have the RSI here, and you can also see when something is overbought or oversold and can observe it like that. If you then say to yourself, okay, that fits. Now I have the indicator very briefly. Maybe we'll switch back in again. Of course, you can also search for any indicator and enter something. You see, there are so many things. I can just type in K now. There you actually see all of mine. But there are the indicators that you might find if you now enter LuxAlgo. LuxAlgo, a very well-known indicator manufacturer. You can see how many indicators they have, and that's really a lot. And you can just browse through them. If you have found an indicator that you like, you can enter it here. If you click on this window on the right, read more. A brief explanation of the indicator opens and you can view it here. If you want to exit here again, click on the X and the matter is settled. We'll leave it like that for now. Let's move on. We also have an alarm button here, which means if you have drawn something here, but we haven't drawn anything here now. That's why this alarm is not necessarily that interesting unless you say, okay, I want, for example, if the price crosses down to 91,299, you get an alarm. That should notify you. You can also choose whether it should notify you once or every time it happens. Then you have notifications up here. You can connect with the app. Here, this toast notification means you get something at the bottom, and play sound plays a sound for you, right? That would be the next thing we have. But if we move on now, we have a replay mode here. If you click here, bar replay, this scissor-like tool opens up. That means I can go back here, click here, and now I have more or less the past charts and can then select below at what speed I want it to continue playing. I can reduce it, go to 3 times speed. And then you see a candle every 3 seconds, or you have forward below and can manually advance 1 candle at a time by clicking. This can be interesting if you're testing indicators or something similar. Or maybe you're checking for yourself, how good am I at trading? Later, you also have the option to go into buy here. Don't worry, nothing happens now. It now just says 1 Bitcoin goes long. And if I continue here, you can see how much profit or loss I make with my current position and can then say here, okay, I'll close it again. And you will see your total profit at the bottom, right? If you want to backtest something, in this case, I'll close it now. You should have seen this just once. Now comes the next part, which is very interesting. Here you have the option to use not just one window depending on your plan. Of course, that depends. You can click on Layout Setup and say, hey, I want to have Bitcoin in here twice, 4 times. Let's just click on that. I want to have it in here 3 times. Now I have it stacked. But I want it 4 times so that I have 4 different windows. I'll show it briefly with 2 times now. The good thing is you can then edit each window individually. That means I can here Now I have the 1 hour chart on the left, and I want to analyze the 15 minutes on the right, for example. So now I have the 15 minutes on the left. No matter, I now have the 1 hour chart on the right, the 15-minute chart on the left, and can analyze them separately. But in an hourly chart, I might see more clearly where the highs and lows are, where one gets rejected. And I might actually trade actively in the 15-minute chart. The thing is, I can also add different indicators here. For example, I now go to technicals, add the Bollinger Bands, for example. And now I have the Bollinger Bands here, but not here. But of course, I can also take that. You can say here, I go to copy, and then click over here and simply do Control V, and I can insert it as well. If I no longer want the indicator, I simply click on delete, and the matter is settled. If these volume candles down here bother you, then you can also remove them. You simply do that in this area, that you hide this here or even delete it. The next thing is, which is very often the case, right? And I want to show you this now with an indicator. We now take any indicator. Now I have the indicator in here. You can also move these windows to the left and right, or up and down, depending on your preference. At the beginning, it might look like this for you. If I right-click here now, it will apparently, or very likely, look exactly like this for you. This can be very, very distracting on the chart. What you can do here is if you simply hover over such an indicator, right-click, and then remove the arguments, then you only have the indicator displayed. If you only have the indicator title, volume, and symbol title, then that's fine. You don't need more than that. That way, you have a clearer chart. You can do something similar here so that you only have the symbol title, volume, and indicator title in it. And overall, you don't need more than that. Just so you've seen it once, the chart will be clearer for you because you will have many long lines here when you use indicators. Exactly. You can now save this chart like this. Once it's done, click on save and pull. You have it saved like that. But if you now say, okay, I would like to have all of this again, or I want it saved like this, but I want to analyze Ethereum separately, then you click on this small price and say, create new layout. And then, for example, I go in and say ETH, this is my ETH chart, open a new tab. And then it simply creates a new chart for me, and I start again from scratch here. But if you say you want to take everything you've already created here, then you can go in and say, make a copy. Because I've already set everything up. I would simply like it one-to-one for Ethereum. Then I say make a copy. Then I say, okay, here, I know this is the copy and this is ETH. And I click up here and then it creates the same thing for me again. And now I can simply say here, I'm doing everything with the Ethereum chart. And then click here on save. And now, as you can see, I have the Ethereum copy here. I don't need this anymore, nor the test that I created here before. But if I now go to open layout, because I already have a lot of layouts in there, then you'll find them in here. And if you now say, okay, I have the ETH here that I created before, and I'm actually not interested in it, which I currently can't find, here, ETH, then I can take it here and simply delete it, and then it's gone again. Now we actually have everything up here. What you see on the right are just the presets from my last open charts that I had. Exactly. The next thing we're doing is the drawings. Here I go back and I say I want us to have it in one window so that we can see it clearly and distinctly. I want to have the drawings now. By the way, you can also make the indicators larger and smaller. Even if you have multiple indicators below, you can do that. I will now bring in a MACD again so that we can see it. Just so you have seen it once. I can enlarge and reduce the one above, but I can also enlarge and reduce the one below, right? Just so you have seen that too. And when you click on save, it remains saved like that. Now on the left, we have the option for various things. Now I will briefly hide myself as well, because we also need this favorites check mark down here. Up here, we have the option for me to say I don't want the cross, which actually shows me high and low. You can see here, it shows me that on the left and right. I can do all of this with a dot or an arrow, also magic, but we'll leave it like that. The next point, which will be very interesting, is the lines. You have several possible lines here. That means, for instance, the trend line. If I now see, okay, this is interesting for me. You click once, pull it up. And I can see here now we had an upward trend that is broken downwards, tested again, and tested once more. But for me, this is now an upward trend, and I can draw it. I can do it as often as I want. And see here, okay, we were in an upward channel. Now I can say, okay, I want to edit this. If you click on the line, you have the option. You can also move it at any time to change the thickness of this line, the color of this line. Should it be dashed? Should it be continuous? And you have such options. In the settings, you can also add text. I'll write test here now. You can also change the size, the one you use, the color, and so on, of the text. and then it is now in the middle. Okay, I don't want it in the middle. I simply say, okay, I want it, for example, below. Then it is now below, so you have seen that too. How do I delete this again? You just click on it, then click delete. But I can also say for such a line, I want to be alerted when that happens. That means I click here on the line, then you have the alert field here. And there I say if the price crosses, I can also say just crossing up or crossing down, but as soon as the price of Ethereum exceeds or touches the trend line, it should do it once per candle or once at candle close to notify me. And then it says Ethereum 15 minutes crossing trend line. Then you can also get notified here again on your app and so on. Then you click on create. You can find the alerts themselves once you've created them over here in the alerts window. And there you have the alerts that are in there and you can see them in there. You can also edit or delete them again. It's important that the alert you create is always related to your time frame. That means in 15 minutes, it really only does it with every 15-minute candle. In the week, so it does it with every weekly candle. Then we have several more options for other lines. I'm not going through all of them now, we'll cover the most important ones. The horizontal line simply extends when you set it here across an entire chart. It goes as far back as the chart allows. This horizontal line extends backward. Very, very interesting to see when you look back in the past. I'm going to the daily chart now because it's a bit easier, where we had the same support and resistance zones in the past as we have here. Then that's why it's not entirely bad when you use this here. You can delete that again. There are more lines. So you say, okay, I click on the small circle. Then there's the horizontal line and I say here, okay, I want it at this candle. It only extends to the right, for example, yes? And you have these options here. You can find Fibonacci here. There are very, very many different things. When it comes to Fibonacci, so there's a separate video on how exactly that works. You can draw Fibonacci, pull it down, and then you simply see where these Fibonacci calculated levels are. We also have the option to draw if you want to sketch something, right? But you can click anywhere to the right and also find, for example, arrows. You also find other arrows. I will now draw a little something. You can play around with it a bit. You can write text anywhere. That means you can enter here, add text, type something in, done. There are also various emojis, checkmark emojis. Here I made a trade, right? And that was, for example, not a good trade, as a small example. Then we have another line here, which is also very, very interesting because it shows you when you pull it upwards, how many percent we have made in this area. Or you can, of course, also do it in the negative. But here you not only see the percentage up and down, you also see the bars. For example, there are 129 bars, 129 days up to this area, which it shows me here. And that is, of course, also interesting to know if I know how large a percentage area is or something similar. Then we also have the magnetic field here, when you activate this magnet here. And let's assume, for example, we take this trend line and I place it here. You see here, when you cross this, it immediately fixes a candle on a candle close. When I click now and try to drag the line somewhere, it automatically aligns with the last candles, where it fits best. And that would be the case here. It can of course be confusing because you naturally want to place your line exactly yourself, but it can also serve as a help for you to see where the trend actually is. You can turn that off again. You can also say, okay, the trade drawing symbol. I want to because now I don't have to click it anew each time, but I can draw these lines as often as I want. I'll remove that again. And then we actually have a lot on our chart now that isn't really necessary. And that's why you can simply right click. And when you're done, you can select remove 14 drawings as I have here now. Then I remove all time drawings with one click and the chart is clean again. Lastly, let's take a look. Because you can add favorites here. You have this favorites field down here. When I click on it, you see it opens up here. And now I've added favorites for myself, for example, a short position that I can display. And I've also set up the long position for myself. I have the Fibonacci retracement, which is very important for me, so I know how things work for me. You can add your favorites there, but how does that work? That means you can go in here and simply drag on the different lines. I'm turning on the trend angle now. When I click on add favorites, it gets added up here. And you can move this favorites bar around anywhere. If you say it's bothering you right now, you just click on this star at the bottom left, then it's gone again, and you activate it again when you click back up. That's how simple it is to add and remove favorites. So that's it for the tutorial. It might have taken a bit longer, but now you are familiar with TradingView. You know how to use it so you can find your way around, because many who start with TradingView really have difficulties here. And I believe this should help you. There will be another video coming up. In that, I will introduce indicators to you in detail. That means how do you apply them? Which indicators are very, very interesting for regular trading? And what is the difference between indicators and strategy scripts that are available in there? And we will do all of that separately so that this video doesn't become too long.